All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's take a quick break from our Super Bowl coverage to check in with Jack McMullen, who is getting ready to head to South Florida this weekend. Marlins Fan Fest is coming up on Saturday. Not only will he work for Just Baseball, but he will work during the baseball season. He's got to get those chops ready for spring training, the first game approximately less than 4 weeks away, if I'm not mistaken. A game in February, I think we got this year. Jack, great to catch up with you here. We'll go around the league and listen. You're on borrowed time now here. A couple of weeks of R&R, and then that's it. You're back at it.
I know, but you know what? The good news is it's going to be baseball season when we do get back at it. And I got to start doing those vocal exercises you're talking about, right? I just got to get back in the groove of talking for 3.5 hours a day, every day for 6 months.
Yeah, definitely so. Can't wait for spring training, and certainly we'll have more on that as we go. But first, let's go around the hot stove, which really, in essence, comes to a completion this week because the day the Super Bowl ends is really the first day the baseball season begins. So let's close out our hot stove with the final few signings. And then, of course, there's still a few left out there, but I have a sneaky suspicion those guys are going to have to wait because usually teams are going to want to see those pitchers and then decide what to do, sadly, for Framber and for Zach Gallen. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's get to the hitters. So, Jack, I got a chance to see Luis Arraez up close and personal in Miami when he put together one of the greatest Marlins seasons individually all time and his best season all time. But what has happened since then is a little perplexing because I don't think anybody would have predicted, Jack, that this would be a guy that would only get a one-year deal, leading the league in hitting 3 times. But the game has changed so significantly on how we view players. He signs a one-year deal for the San Francisco Giants, to the San Francisco Giants, for approximately $12 million. That's being reported. He'll bat at the top of their lineup. All those things sound good. And then they told me he's going to play second base every day. So I'm not so sure about this entire deal here. I'd love your perspective on what you think Arraez can be for the Giants and sort of what the Giants are thinking with the signing too.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like whoever was going to win the Luis Arraez sweepstakes, and it's kind of weird to call it a sweepstakes because it was a one-year deal, but whoever was going to win the services of Luis Arraez this winter was probably going to have to concede to him playing second base. And that's exactly what just happened here. Arraez was apparently and reportedly adamant that he was going to play second base and he was not going to play first base, which is the position that he played a good chunk of the time with Miami and then almost exclusively in San Diego. But let's start with the good with Arraez, and you know it as well as anybody, Craig. Like, this guy is as good of a table setter as there is in Major League Baseball, and he is as annoying of a hitter for opposing pitchers as there is in Major League Baseball. There are 2 guys that have hit 300 or better in 3 of the last 4 years, and that's Aaron Judge and Luis Arraez. So in terms of batting average, this guy is literally top of the charts, and in terms of not striking out, this guy is literally top of the charts. The problem is the defensive value is not really there. He's a well below average defensive second baseman, and he doesn't walk punch. He doesn't hit the ball out of the ballpark. He doesn't drive the ball out of the gaps and hit 30 or 40 doubles in a given season. So you could make the argument that he's a one-trick pony. And Luis Arraez is like a fascinating conversation when you get to the old guard and the new guard of baseball.
Yeah.
Does batting average really matter? A guy that is pacing baseball over the last half decade in batting average just got a one-year, $12 million deal. Kyle Schwarber got 5 years and $150 million. That right there, it doesn't tell you everything, but it should tell you that the game is changing a little bit.
Yeah. It's a polarizing topic. He's always going to be a polarizing topic. And the thing that changes the dynamic for me with this, that makes it even tougher to quantify this guy's value, Jack, is the fact that, call it what it is, he has not been a good defender. If he was a good defender and he was Mark Grace, I think it would be a completely different conversation. But because he is not, that just makes him a unicorn in the sport. A guy hits for a high batting average, and let's be honest, does nothing else. If it was defense or speed or something else in the game, Willie McGee, okay, then we could have that conversation. But because of that, impossible to value this guy, so I'm not going to try and do it. Now, this one to me is a little bit different. Eugenio Suarez, back with the Cincinnati Reds. This dude hit 49 home runs, can't get a multi-year deal. And again, defensive questions too. I guess the Reds will play him at DH. But man, isn't this what baseball is in this day and age? All or nothing? And he's been better than that. But this poor guy can't get himself a 2-year deal.
It's amazing. And to your point, like, okay, we talk about the one trick pony thing. Eugenio Suarez is a better defensive third baseman than Luis Arraez is defensively at second base or first base.
Yeah,
So then it comes down to, are you going to take the slightly below average third baseman that hit 49 homers, or are you going to take the well below average second baseman that doesn't hit homers and hits 300? The answer is, well, I'm going to take both on a 1 year deal in the mid tens in terms of average annual value. This guy got 1 year and $15 million. I think everybody last year was thinking this guy was going to cash in on $50 million.
yeah.
In December, I would have told you this guy is getting a 2 year, $45 million almost prove it deal. But instead, he gets a third of that money and he only gets 1 year. And I saw that contract come through. And my initial thought was good for Eugenio Suarez going back to a place that he had hit 49 home runs in before. Mind you, this guy has hit 49 homers in a season twice. It wasn't just a one hit wonder year for him. The other thought was how many other teams could have gotten involved here at 1 year for
Yeah.
$15 million? And I immediately went to a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates. They traded Brian Hayes to Cincinnati last year. And now all of a sudden you got to watch your division rival run out Brian Hayes and Eugenio Suarez, a guy that would have fit perfectly in your lineup. There are 15 teams around Major League Baseball that I guarantee you in November, if you said you can get Geno Suarez on 1 year for $15 million, they would have done it, no questions asked.
It seems like we're going through this every year too, and players unfortunately have not learned that by the time you get to the end of spring training, you're viewed as the reason why you haven't signed is because you're looking for the pillow. You're looking for the 1 year. And I think it just sometimes it just makes more sense to do what O'Hearn did, which is, sign early, get paid, just be done with it, even though it doesn't look great. It's the way to go. Okay, so Seattle makes a nice little move here to get Brendan Donovan. Let's talk about this trade here. Donovan will absolutely help this team as they try and push and compete. And it's another 3 year, a three-way trade. So the Rays have to be involved to get a player I've never heard about. I have heard of this Cardinals pitcher who is a lefty and a righty. If I'm saying this correctly, he's a switch pitcher, like my buddy Venditti from a few years ago.
Yes.
And I was told yesterday that the Cardinals said that he's only going to pitch righty, but now all of a sudden I'm hearing that maybe not, and now he's going to pitch lefty. So that'll be fun. You and I will have a chance to see that in spring training, I'm guessing here. So positive for the Mariners. The Cardinals, Jack. Oh my gosh, they're going to lose like 100 games. They're going to be like one of the worst teams in baseball this year.
It seems like it, but this is a transition period for St. Louis. John Mozeliak, who was the lead decision maker in St. Louis, is out after however many years and however many decades being in charge of the St. Louis Cardinals. And Chaim Bloom takes over. Chaim Bloom, who was let go of that position in Boston when they brought in Craig Breslow to be their president of baseball operations. But Chaim Bloom, the guy that gets no credit for drafting a Roman Anthony to Boston and building up that farm system to the point where the Red Sox have one of the brighter futures in baseball. Chaim Bloom grew up in Tampa Bay. He grew up under Andrew Friedman, Eric Neander. He is very, very good at prospect identification and player development in the minor leagues. And that's the direction that St. Louis is going in, which makes a lot of sense that they would move Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras and Nolan Arenado and Brendan Donovan in the same offseason. That being said, that's a lot of people moving from one team in one
Yes.
offseason. And I will say on the Seattle side, they go and get one of the best second basemen in baseball. For my money, the best utility bat in Major League Baseball. And they, in a wide open American League, I think should be considered the favorite because of what that rotation is and how they bolstered that lineup this offseason.
Yeah, that was a huge get. By the way, this player that goes to Tampa Bay, Ben Williamson. You follow prospects
Really good
closely. What do we
defensive
know on
third
him?
baseman. Doesn't strike out, doesn't really hit for power. So underwhelming bat right now, but Tampa loves their projects, and chances are he's pretty darn good for them.
All right, let's take a quick break with Jack. We'll come back. There was another trade that happened last week. The Chicago White Sox really active in the offseason. We'll see if they've done enough in Jack's mind to make themselves, getting back into the playoff mix. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. Don't go away. We continue along with Just Baseball's Jack McMullen. Their show is coming up in 15 minutes, so we will get a preview of that show in just a minute. But first, let's still go through some of the offseason as we put a bow, honestly, on the offseason. When we catch up next week, it's going to be go time in baseball. Okay, so one more quick note here. Jordan Hicks, who is now, we can officially say, bouncing around the league at this point. He goes from the Cardinals to the Giants to the Red Sox, now to the White Sox. And he goes in a trade where they get some young players back in return. what was the White Sox sort of thinking here, Jack? I know what the Red Sox thinking here is, like, we're hitting that tax money. Let me see if we can parse out a little bit here, get some young players back in return. Hicks is okay. He's not, they tried him. He's a 5 inning starter basically at most. He could pitch well out of the bullpen. Don't feel like he's ever really hit that ceiling, so to speak. But I'm curious what you make of this. Why both teams? What was the motivation behind you think both teams in this trade?
Yeah, so for Boston, Jordan Hicks just kind of felt like I don't want to say a waste of $10 million or so, but he felt like he was excess for Boston, I guess, at that price point. It just didn't really make sense. And the White Sox are going to take on not the entirety of that $25 million remaining on his contract. He's got 2 years left. The Red Sox are paying it down. They're going to give the White Sox $8 million as part of that. So I just don't think Boston wanted to hamper their bullpen with a $10 million guy that wasn't closing games for them. They already have their $10 million guy in Aroldis Chapman, and they feel good about other setup guys and other middle relievers. So that was really a getting out from under the Hicks contract move for Boston. For the White Sox, it makes a lot of sense because remember 2 years ago when Jordan Hicks signed with San Francisco, they signed him as a starting pitcher, and he started up until about the All Star break for San Francisco. Now, he's been a reliever for the last year and a half, and he was a reliever and an underwhelming one in Boston. But the White Sox are entering that point where they feel like their window is opening in a year or two. They've had some good breakouts offensively. Look at guys like Colson Montgomery, who's going to play shortstop for them, Kyle Teal, who's going to catch for them, Edgar Caro, another talented catcher. They've got this young core that they wanted to find complementary pieces for. And that's why they went and got the Japanese slugger Munetaka Murakami earlier this offseason. They went and got a tradable reliever on a 2-year deal in Sir Anthony Dominguez. They go and get some other pitchers, Sean Newcomb, Anthony Kay. But for me, this is one of those deals where they felt that they had a necessity for innings. And Jordan Hicks is just a proven commodity that can give them a bunch of innings. So this is a team that is sort of kind of entering their window of maybe
Yeah.
contention that just wants filled innings and guaranteed stuff when you have a whole bunch of young starters that are coming through. And they got an interesting prospect in Sandlin, too. Boston got an interesting prospect in Zeal. But for the most part, this was Boston getting out of the Hicks money and Chicago getting innings to eat at the back of their rotation.
Yeah, and they did have some extra money there with they did sign Sir Anthony Dominguez, but they parted ways with Luis Robert. It does feel like the White Sox are, this season it would be nice if they won 75 games. They'd be very happy with that. And then,
Right.
obviously from there they'd want to make the playoffs the following year. Okay, so there's top free agents and then there's one legacy free agent that I want to get to here with you here and get your opinion on this because this is a tough one. But
Yeah.
Framber Valdez, who we've yet to hear a single rumor about this offseason, like I hate to say it, but maybe this guy is just like not getting a contract. Like, have we considered that? Is something else going on here? Because I haven't heard his name. At least Zach Gallen's name has been associated with some teams, Arizona and the Cubs. And I'll get to Andrew McCutchen here for a minute. I want to save him for last with you and I. But let's do this. Am I crazy here? Is Valdez not getting a deal? Is he just gonna like not sign a contract? Because rumors, I know a lot of them are BS. Half of them are real, half of them are fake. But I don't even. There's no like fake rumor about Valdez. None.
Yeah, so literally the only thing I've seen about Framber Valdez over the last couple of months is that he is a perfect fit for the Baltimore Orioles. And I haven't
That's
seen
it.
reported mutual interest between him and Baltimore. All I see is Framber would be perfect in Baltimore. So at this point, I'm sitting here saying he should probably just be a Baltimore Oriole and it should probably happen right now as we're talking. Aside from that, I mean, I guess the Mets, like there were some rumors that were kicked about and the dust popped up there. But then the Mets go and trade for Freddie Peralta from Milwaukee. So it seems like the Mets have their answer in the rotation. It seems like all of these other teams have their answer in the rotation. And Fromber and Baltimore are just playing this long waiting game to figure out what happened. I will say that cross up, intentional or not, with Cesar Salazar, the catcher in Houston last year, after Fromber allowed a home run, that might have been an $100 million pitch because there were so many issues that came up after that cross up and hitting his catcher in the chest protector. It could have entirely zapped his market, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can't believe that is the deal. It feels like that is the deal, but it's
Yeah.
still to me it's perplexing on that. Zach Gallen, real quick. Just seems like he goes back to Arizona, right? Like it's the easiest thing for him, right?
I guess. Like there was a report about Bob Nightingale, or there was a report about from Bob Nightingale, I guess earlier in the offseason about the Chicago Cubs being interested and possibly getting to a deal, and then that fell through. Arizona, like it, yeah, it makes sense, but there are other teams that could be in the market for a good pitcher on a discount. It seems like now, I wouldn't be surprised by any team with Gallen. To be honest with you, I
Makes
feel
sense.
like so many teams could utilize Gallen services.
No win situation here for Pittsburgh with Andrew McCutchen, who went on social media and said that he's disappointed not to be back. Look, the Pirates, it's not that they did him a favor at all. He was a really good player, but Jack, they did bring him back for this little run. It appears as though they don't want to do it again. Ugh, there's like no winning in this situation, and it seems like McCutchen wants to keep playing. It's just an awful little
It's
breakup here.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because McCutchen has signed 1 year deals in 24 and 25. He hadn't signed one in 26. And Ben Charrington was asked at Pirates Fest what the latest is with McCutchen. And Charrington gave a roundabout answer, but the crux of it was we believe we're putting our best foot forward to compete in 2026, and that may not include Andrew McCutchen. And McCutchen then said, did St. Louis treat Adam Wainwright like this? Did the Dodgers treat Clayton Kershaw
Mhm.
like this? I hear you, and he is certainly one of the all-time great Pittsburgh Pirates, but he's DHing. He doesn't really play defense anymore. There are very few teams that can stomach a roster spot there for a right-handed hitting DH that can't even play the outfield right now. So I just wonder if McCutchen will have the ability to say when his career is all said and done.
It's really a shame because once you do open that Pandora's box by bringing him back again, then you have to close it. It's rough. All right, Jack. I will see you in a couple of weeks at spring training. Thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it.
Can't wait. Excited for some sunshine.